In this video, I'll be discussing one of the latest feature enhancements we've made available through a firmware update on the Tektronix 4, 5, and 6 series oscilloscopes. That is the ability to trigger on the RF versus time waveforms generated through spectrum view. Just as a quick review, spectrum view is a feature made available within the channel badge of our latest oscilloscopes, and it provides independent display and control over the time and frequency domains of a waveform captured on any channel. So here you can see the frequency content of this ASK or Amplitude Shift-Keying signal with a carrier frequency at 2.4 gig. We process the frequency domain of this signal in spectrum time. That's represented by the yellow bar that you see at the bottom of the time domain window. The digital bit stream being transmitted over this modulated waveform is represented by high amplitude RF bursts that are representing ones and are 120 millivolts peak to peak, and low amplitudes between those bursts representing zeros. Now with the simple edge trigger I've applied to channel 1, you can see that the RF bursts flicker around on screen and make it difficult to lock in on any one in particular. That's because this edge trigger is updating and rearming as fast as it can with the hold-off settings that I've applied. And so in many cases, you'll see if I go to single acquisitions here, in many cases we'll trigger on the first rising edge of one of the bursts. But in some cases, like you can see in this particular example, we're actually triggering on a rising edge of one of the carrier frequencies inside the burst itself. Now in the latest firmware release for the MSO64 that I have running here, we've introduced the ability to trigger on the magnitude and frequency versus time waveforms of spectrum view. So if I turn on the magnitude versus time, go back to my trigger settings, and select channel 1 magnitude versus time, now you can see we're triggering on the first edge of each burst every single time. This feature is very similar to the RF envelope trigger that we introduced with the high-end 70000 SX series oscilloscopes. Now for this application, you can also apply a pulse width trigger if you're interested in capturing only the smaller or larger of the two bursts. So for example, if we wanted to go in and select pulse width and set a trigger limit of less than 165 microseconds, now we're triggering on and capturing the smaller of the two RF bursts in this pattern. And on the flip side, if we wanted to capture the larger of the two, we simply flip the limit to greater than 165 microseconds. So this is just one application area where the RF versus time triggering capability of our newer oscilloscopes with spectrum view will be useful. I'll put a link in the description below where you can find the latest firmware for the MSO 4, 5, and 6 series oscilloscopes from Tektronix.
Find out more at Vicom's website.